on a big fancy car, you could have step up and a walk. Step up in your thinking, step up in your thought, step up in your mind, me say step up in your heart, just step up. All who want step up in a life, come step up. Moving up and trying to survive, boy, step up. And stop wasting your time and step up. Up the ladder you can climb, come step up. All who want step up in a life, just step up. Moving to a higher kind of height, boy, step up. And stop wasting your time and step up. Up, climb up, climb up. Everybody climb 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 up. Always try to better yourself and try to progress. Work and perseverance is the way to success. Always try your best, nothing any less. Stepping up the ladder with the righteousness. Look how you are live, look how your life is full of mess.
Testing. Hi. I'm doing all right. Brother Boo Jamal is the master ceremony. So they waiting on you. Yeah, they're looking at me. All right. Right next to me. Who better to be next to? Huh? Didn't you tell me you got a piece of paper on me? Huh? You own me?
Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings of peace. Glad that all of you could make it today at the Temple of New African Thought for our Sunday Healing Circle. We're going to begin with meditations from Mama and Danu. Yes, sir. No, go ahead. I'm just trying to find something to put on.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be back. I've been out for at least a couple months, if not more, and it's good to see everybody again. I am feeling better, and I had dedicated this summer to healing, and so I would like to have you all begin with a meditation that I have found to be good for me because it's a meditation of gratefulness. And I think that that's something that we have to remember is the importance of being grateful. So do you have some flute music or something?
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All of my titles.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting, If everyone wants to get into a mood for meditation, you could sit straight but comfortable. Your feet grounded on the floor, hands in your lap or on your knees. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. And blow out a strong release of negative thoughts and energy, if anything like that happens to be invading your body right now. So we can begin with an inhalation, and we'll hold the inhalation and then we'll exhale it. So please inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath, 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale again, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. Now this time, fill the breath all the way up to the very tip of your head. Once upon a time, your mama called it your soft spot, the crown of your head. Try to see your brain. Thank the Creator for your brain, which controls so many automatic functions in our bodies, inside our temples. Breathe that blessing. Now move the breath down to your third eye area, between the eyes, near the middle of your forehead. Be thankful for your ability for imagination, creativity, memory. Breathe that blessing. Move the breath down to your eye sockets and appreciate your gift of sight, your ability to see all the beauty of this earth, the variety of so many things, colors, shapes, designs, faces, bodies. Breathe that blessing. Now move your thoughts to your ears. Give thanks for your ability to hear the wind, music, birds chirping, voices, even warning sounds. It's all kinds of sounds and the ability to communicate, ability to hear, to recognize, and understand the voice of spirit. Breathe that blessing. Give attention to your nose. Be thankful for your sense of smell. Think of the different aromas and experience your breath. Feel the warm air and realize the fact that breath enables our lives and bodies to be sustained by spirit. Breathe that blessing. And now focus on your mouth and all its functions. Your ability to speak truth, affirm guidance. Be thankful for your ability to taste and chew your food, to throat, to talk through your vocal cords and your voice box, to communicate, to sing. Breathe the blessings that flow through your mouth. Now think about your neck and how it supports your head. And think about your spine, cervical and lumbar disc. All your bones, in your skeletal system, muscles, ligaments, tendons, cartilage, all connected and working to support and align your torso, all working without any switches to turn things on or any bills to pay to keep them working. Just blessings. Breathe the blessings. Now let's consider our hearts and thank it for the rhythmic beating and pumping of fresh oxygenized blood throughout your whole body. Feel the rhythm of your lungs, helping your breath, pushing the air. These are the most important organs, keeping us naturally functioning from day to night and back to day again. Sisters, bless your breasts and reproductive organs, our ability to nurture and nourish, just as Mother Nature does for us. And brothers, bless your reproductive organs as well. Let us breathe the blessings of the ability to have children and offspring. Remember books and diagrams from health classes in school? Concentrate on your digestive system, your waste removal systems. Picture your stomach, kidneys, liver, spleen, gallbladder, bladder, colon, intestines, all functioning automatically just for you. What a blessing. Breathe and give thanks for your glands, your nerves, your lymphatic system. Be thankful for your arms and legs, fingers and toes, your hair, your ability to walk, to run, to jump, to grab, dance, stand, and sit. Be thankful. Know that you are blessed because you can feel, you can touch, you can love, you can be passionate. So sit in your blessings. Be mindful of these daily gifts. Breathe. Inhale and exhale because you can. Breathe the blessing. Be thankful and appreciative and grateful for all that you have as you bring your awareness back to this space, back to the temple of New African Thought. And so it is. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Thank you, Mama and Donnie. Next, we're going to transcend into libations. Libations is, in an African conditioning way, a bridging of the gap of our ancestors with real day, with us in this real day time, the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding. So with that, we will everybody can call out or silently the ancestors that's made an impact in your life, and then we'll go to those more recent ones in our personal lives, family members, loved ones, so forth. They all deserve reverence. So once again, everybody, those ancestors of old that you revere, can you say their names, and then we'll say Ashe after that? Ashe.
Ashe.
Nat Turner. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe. Akhenaten.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe.
Asa G. Hilliard.
Ashe. Ashe.
Dr. Francis Cress Wells.
Ashe. Ashe.
Dr. Patricia Newton,
Ashe.
Miriam Makeba,
Ashe.
Ashe.
You know, we can fill up this 2 hours for just doing that on our ancestors. Okay. Now, what about those our ancestors that had a personal relationship and connection to us, be they loved ones, family members, those that have recently transpired?
Even
that
Preston
name.
Winkler,
Ashe.
Pauline and Waverly Johnson,
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe. Kabil Abdul Manan.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Charles
Ashe.
McAveen, Brother Chuck,
Ashe. Ashe.
Uncle Hooks, Uncle Rudy,
Ashe.
Ashe, Uncle Borshi,
Ashe.
Ashe, Uncle
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Janet Jenkins. Ashe.
Aunt Rosa May, Ashe,
Ashe. 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 Once again, we can go all 2 hours. All right, thank you very much.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe, Ashe-o.
Ashe-o. At this point, if anyone has anything that they like to share, poem, song, words of inspiration, reflections, or anything like that, now's the time. Absolutely, sir.
How you doing, sir? Ashe, Ashe-o.
Well, I've had a lot of time to think about things since I've been at home. And one of the things that's been on my mind is all the political turmoil and upheaval that's going on. And personally, I'm very, very thankful for Ibrahim Traore and the work, the mission, the purpose that he is putting forth for us. I pray daily that he stay alive and that his mission be successful. I know R. Kelly and Beyonce and somebody else has written some songs for him. But I look back in my own stuff and I found a song by Judy Mowat, who was one of the I3 that sang with Bob Marley and the Wailers. And I would like to cover this song in honor of Ibrahim Traore. It's called We'll Sing Our Own Song. The great flood of tears that we've cried for brothers and sisters who have died over 400 years has washed away all our fears and strengthened our pride. Now we've turned back the tides. We will no longer hear your commands. We'll seize the control from your hands. We'll fan the flames of our anger and pain, and you'll feel the shame for what you do in God's name. So we'll fight for the right to be free. We'll build our own societies. We'll sing, we will sing, we will sing our own songs. And when ancient drum rhythms ring, the voice of our forefathers sing, forward Africa run, our day of freedom has come. For me and for you, a mandala way too. Yeah, we'll fight for the right to be free. We'll build our own societies. We'll sing, we will sing, we will sing our own songs. And when ancient drum rhythms ring, the voice of our forefathers sing, forward Africa run, our day of freedom has come. For me and for you, Amanda away to, Amanda away to. Power to us. Ibrahim Traore leading the way. Ashe.
Ashe. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Mama covered it. Well, since we're waiting for Dr. Dennis to return, I would ask everyone to reflect on what was shared last week in terms of his message and try to connect that with what may be said or what will be said today. That repetitious thought process is very key in understanding and changing the narrative of what goes on here at TNAT in respect to our family and our people. So I just ask everyone to reflect on and try to connect the dots and put the puzzle pieces together. It's coming. Now I give you Dr. Dennis Ausar Winkler, Temple New African Thought. Thank you.
Was there a question?
No, I was turning it over to you, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. You got something for us, Brother Los? You got some music? Let's see what you got as I hand this out. Let us vibe to it.
Black and proud. Black and proud. When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you.
Ashe. Blessings, family. How's everybody doing?
All right.
May I have permission from my elders to speak?
You know.
You sure?
Yes.
You got, don't be trying to shut me up once you gave me the affirmation. You know what I mean? They be like, why does he have to go there? So today, family, we're gonna pick up. I want to first, before I go there, I like to say, appreciate having some who've been out for a while. Mama and Danu, brother Carlos, back in the house. Looking healthier and stronger than they did since I last. Well, maybe I saw you walk a little bit more easy. Something going on. You still got some stuff to do. You say, right? But nonetheless, excited to have you. The energy is good. I appreciate everybody who pitched in this week, who took up a part and got here a little early and helped with the setup, make sure we got things done in a fashion where we don't feel rushed. Where I also allow some space for me to print papers and not get and do some different things like that. So I think, as they say, what's the African proverb? The more hands, lighter the load, or something like that. Sounds good. Everything that sounds right is an African proverb. Is that not right? Everybody say Ashe. Everything is right. It's an African proverb. Yeah. And so this is our second part of our myth series, and again, I want to say that myth is essential, but we have to re-examine if they are working for us. I heard some myths here today, to be honest with you. But the fact is, what is the myth, and is it serving us? But I think we have to examine myth, not just tackle it and beat it up for no reason at all. You know what I mean? Just to be right and correct. But what is it doing to serve us? Y'all like, what myth did he hear today? What? What'd you say, Mama? No. Well, yeah, you said some myths. But nonetheless, if that would look, your mind is working. But no, I think. But thank y'all. So we're gonna get into this. I gave you all a handout. If we can take that down just a little bit, Brother Los, I just want to make sure some people are saying that. But it's kind of like a blend between where we can still hear it and they can still hear it. So maybe a little ambient type of sound, like the a little African something up in there. That's good. So today I have it titled Stages of Faith. And I want to come from various books today that speak about stages of faith. There's, of course, the Western philosopher, psychologist, and many know named James W. Fowler. You know, then there's also Muada Ashby, who has maybe every book that I've read of his, including, the Book of the Dead or Coming Forth Day by Light. He speaks about levels to faith and myth. And then it's this book here called Ultimate Questions, which I read when I was in school, in my master's program, which was, it was profound when I was reading this thing, because of course, maybe some of you might not know that. So I don't have I do have a traditional and, let's say both and type of degree. So my degree is clinical at the master's level, but it's also theological in a sense, if that makes sense. It's more spiritually integrated psychology. And so we dealt with matters that had to do with faith, theology, spirituality, atheism, whatever it is, throughout the entire program. To me, although it was in a Western institution, it was the closest thing that I could have gotten to what we call an African-centered framework when we're talking about psychological study. Because at the core, it was spirit. And this is how African or Black psychology is kind of framed as well. That they said the core is always spirit or spirituality. They say African people are spiritual people. But I like to kind of dissect just a bit that myth and spirit are not one and the same. Myth is to serve you, to get you to a place. It's a tool, it's a methodology. It doesn't mean it's the thing. And I think we'll explore that today. But one of the things that I wanted to read to get us started is in this book, Ultimate Questions. I'll just read it, what I have on my paper, and you have it before you as well. In his book, The Ultimate Questions, a theological primer, Clyde F. Cruz opens with a profound observation titled The Baffle of Being. How many people heard this before? The baffle of being. Now, I've said this before, so the next time I say it again, I'm saying it's been years, but it's called the baffle of being. What do you think that could, what do you take that to mean to anybody?
Confusion of the individual internally.
Okay, thank you. I saw your eyes, Mama. I don't know. It looked like you was about to say something.
Well, I was just thinking of even like the meditation. There's so many things that go on in our minds, and we wonder how they go on, how this whole body works. And just to me, it's amazing, to think of, one little thing can mess up this whole thing. And so that's what I think of when you say the baffle of being, because it is baffling.
What does baffling mean? Say that again on the through the mic.
To confound.
And you have a mic right behind you, but go ahead. To confound?
Yeah, to confound your mind, or mainly your mind, but I guess you could be baffled in your spirit, your soul too.
Not easy to understand. To confound, Baba.
Yeah, I think it's a question I asked myself when I was very young. Why am I here? How did I get here? And the one that really got me was, not that one. That's yours. No, mine was.
What was hers?
What's my purpose?
Oh, I see.
Right. And if I wasn't here, where would I be? See? And then the other one was like, then I got personal with my family. So I wouldn't even know my father and stuff and mother and children, you know. And that was it was too much. But that's to me. Yeah, baffling, right?
Yeah. So to be baffled means to be confused, perplexed, and unable to fully understand.
Excuse me. When I hear the baffle of being, I think about what it means to be. Like, are you becoming? Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Are you who you are when you're not doing anything versus are you who you are when you're doing something? Do you have to reach a level of success in order to be something, or are you already that already and everything else is just an add-on? Like it's like, I guess that's the baffling part. Like not knowing or not fully knowing when you're truly being. At least for me, that's my interpretation.
Not truly knowing when you're truly being.
Not truly knowing when. I'm going to get my thoughts together. Now you made me think deeper about it. Have you arrived when you got in there, or are you already where you are? Like, when are you? Where are you? How are you? Like, being is a state of your current situation. Always. I mean, from the time you were born, you technically are a successful being, right? But like, just really processing, like, what is it that's what are you meant to do while you're here?
So some of those, as his book is kind of titled, some of those ultimate questions. Yeah.
I've never read that.
So some people will call those existential questions. So I have here, I'm going to read it again. In his book, Ultimate Questions, the theological primer, Clyde F. Cruz opens with a profound observation titled The Baffle of Being. He reflects on the universal, mysterious experience of being human, how our lives are questions, how we often evade the deeper inquiries of life through success, busyness, or the fear of solitude. And he goes on, and it's a quote, but it's an African proverb that I made so small I can't see. The African proverb says, "The child who asks questions does not become a fool." Again, the child that asks questions do not become a fool. But many of us avoid asking questions. In fact, some of us have been frightened or fed fear to not ask certain questions. In the book, again, from Clyde, what's his name? Clyde Cruz. He says he says, this is not from him, but the funniest of mortals and the kindest, from poet W.H. Auden writes, are those who are most aware of the baffle of being. What does that say? What does that mean to you? How's that land?
When you understand the baffle of being, then things are simplified, and you understand from a certain perspective where that baffleness comes from.
Okay, I'm gonna come back to you and try to take that in, but come back and I'm gonna ask you to break that down for me. Okay.
For me, when I think of the baffle of being, is I could be one way today, and then something occur to me, or I get a revelation of something, and it'll baffle me completely in an opposite direction from what I experienced today. Yeah. So baffling is almost like the mystery of things kind of unfolding, and you can think one way one day, but because we're constantly living and experiencing different things, that can flip completely around next week.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I'd say, and speaking from my personal experience, I am baffled by being oftentimes when I feel like I gain or lose a sense of my identity, in the sense like, I lost a job and now I put so much into that, and I'm like, I am a part of this title, and then I realize I'm not that title. Or when I come here and I don't have a guitar, then I'm like, oh, I'm not even a guitarist, I'm something else. Or like, or if I'm, when you're known as something and then that thing is not there, then it's like, well, who are you? You're obviously deeper than that surface level thing, that add-on that was already there. And then at your core, I'm like, not even my clothes, I'm not even just my
NDIRE.
Yeah. Well, look, I was wondering. I wanted to make sure I looked over at you. I was gonna say I'm not even just my skin color, and I wanted you to go. I wanted to see what your face was gonna look like.
Oh no, I would agree with you. I mean,
but yeah,
so speaking,
like all the things that I identify as my identity,
you need a mic, brother,
of who I am.
Okay.
At some point of being, that isn't your full identity, and you have to kind of look deeper to like what's under that surface.
So okay, gotcha. Brother Los, and then Mama, somebody else.
Check. Oh, just looking at the quote that you just did from the poet: "The funniest of mortals and the kindest are those who are most aware of the baffle of being." What I gather from that is those who understand that you don't understand, able to exist in a world that's not manipulative. You know what I mean? Like they can actually exist and understand that the world is manipulating, people are manipulating, but you can exist in that area of non-manipulation because you understand that you really don't quite understand.
Yeah.
That was pretty much pretty close to what I was thinking too. The part of the funniest of mortals and the kindest, I took it back to the child who asks questions does not become a fool. And so I think that the funniest of mortals and the kindest are the people who are not afraid to ask questions. Those who are not worried about, will somebody think I don't know if I ask a question? I'm going to do it, and I can, I can say it freely, so I can be funny, or I can say it in such a way that I can be kind.
Yeah, this really stood out to me because these are thoughts I had before I read it. You know how you read something and say, "Whoa!" Like I don't know anything else in this book, y'all. I don't remember anything else in this book, but I always remember to go back to the beginning of this book to kind of pull this particular excerpt out of it. And again, the funniest of mortals, he says, and the kindest are those who are most aware of the baffle of being. And then it goes on. I was going to say something, but I think this I highlighted. Cruz notes that to live consciously is to walk with mystery. And this is what we spoke to last week. To live consciously is to walk with mystery. As Mama and Danu just said, it's like kind of like those who are not afraid to ask the questions, but also as Brother Abu Jamal and some others stated, knowing that you don't know everything, and knowing as there's a proverb that I will speak to a little later, that none of us will never know everything, but many times our myths have us thinking that we know more than we truly know, and it creates a certain level of arrogance because we believe that we know the impossible. Baba.
My father used to say all the time, he said, those who know all knows nothing.
Those who know all know nothing. And that's from a man born in 1800s. So, that's ancient. Oh, no. But contemporary ancient. You got something else, Bible? So then he goes on to say, let me start back over. Cruz notes that to live consciously is to walk with mystery, not in avoidance, not to avoid reality, in fact. And the reality is you don't know, and we don't know, and none of these systems know all that they claim they know, but they serve us. How do they serve us? I think that's the question. That's why I say, like, it's not about disrupting beliefs. It's about whether or not those beliefs are serving you and the community. Is it serving you and the culture? Is it serving you? So it's not about just stripping things from people, because sometimes beliefs or myths give people frameworks, but even more than frameworks, it gives them hope.
Like, say, for instance, the movie Man Friday, Peter O'Toole and Richard Roundtree.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very good movie. You seen that? Anybody seen that one? No. And what it was about, it was showing that two men on an island, totally by themselves. How you doing, brother? Good seeing you, man. Yeah. And so Richard Roundtree, real quick, he came on the island with some of his friends, and the white man was stranded on the island. So he came down and shot everybody besides Richard Roundtree. So now those two is on the island, and he's already trying to convert him over to Christianity. You understand what I'm saying? That whole thing was about that. It was so beautiful, and Richard Roundtree sat back like he couldn't understand what he was saying, but he understood English. But he was just taking them in. Yeah, he was being smart. You see what I'm saying? And he was so logical with everything. Because he asked him, and them to shut up, because the whole story is beautiful. Check it out, though. He asked him, was that tree God? And Richard Roundtree said, sure, yes. And he went on at everything around. He said, yeah. But the concept he couldn't get was what? God is everything. Yeah.
Yeah. But Baba Kolos.
Yes. It's funny because I just woke up this morning, and I don't really post a lot on Facebook, but my post this morning was just I just said something simple like you gotta remember that everything is connected. And I think what we just almost like what you said, kind of like what you said earlier, what are these beliefs giving you? And what they're giving you is what internally what you want. Like it is not, it doesn't have to be the truth. It doesn't have to, but it's deep inside like what you want. And that those beliefs give you that. And then just a quick example is you can go, like I said, my wife, I was telling Baba, saw this earlier about my wife being in the Catholic Church. So I go to the church as well. And when you read the creed, the Nicene Creed in the Catholic Church, it's basically telling you that this is a mystery, but believe in the mystery. So it's not even telling you that this is something that you can concretely put your hand on. Believe in the mystery of faith, and that's the tenet that it runs on. Like, so you're gathering from that church, you're going and gathering what what the people are just searching for, to be accepted, to be a lamb, a sheep of God, a follower of God, and everything like that. But they don't really go in there searching for. Now, I'm just using this example, like for some true meaning, because they're already set up with just saying you just have to believe. And it's a little weird to me. I feel a little funny when I'm in there and I hear that, because we're all inquisitive people as humans. We're inquisitive beings. We want to know. We want to know. You know what I'm saying? We want to know. But again, we got to understand that we will never know everything. So I don't know if that.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about that today. And I appreciate that, Brother Fur.
I wanted to make a note on the quote. To live consciously is to walk in mystery, not in avoidance, but in reflection. That sparked a thought or a feeling that I've been having. I do a lot of hikes, and I've been inviting people on hikes. And I notice a large amount of people who are invited on hikes, because I have to do it multiple times. They don't know how to unplug. Like they'll still be on their phone or scrolling, or they want to take the pictures. And I get it. You know, you're in nature. You're not normally in nature. You take pictures. But then after a hike, I tend to reflect. I'll be like, man, you remember that hill, or you remember that tree that looked like it was a hand doing this, or did you remember that bird that flew by, or what that river was like? And they're like, I don't even remember a river, and I'm like, that's the point, right?
Mhm.
And then the idea of like to live consciously is to walk in mystery, and I think that using the hike as a metaphor more than the actual hike, but like when I'm taking a hike, I'm conscious and I'm looking at all the vines because I don't want to get poison oak on me. I'm looking at like the rock because I don't want to twist my ankle. I'm looking at the river, or looking at the birds, or you know, I might just be aware. And in many ways, not unplugging can be a bit of avoidance, because you can do that at home for one, but then it's also like this it's like you miss the moment, you know, and then, you know, so that's kind of what that brought in. And this orientation mirrors the heart and spiritual maturity and deeper questions that in any faith journey must face. And I just imagine like a hike is a very tangible thing, but how many times we do that in other aspects of our life, and it's not as tangible. You don't even realize that you're like missing the current moment, or being aware, or asking questions, or observing, to just kind of go through the motions. And you know, so that's what came up when I was reading that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you also taking over my next note that I didn't get to yet, but but I'll do it again. But one thing I do want, I appreciate you highlighting. I like to give credence to Bob Albert Hall from DC, traveled up here to see us today. Blessings, Bob, for coming on up here. You know, some be saying they can't come from around the corner, Bob, but he always up in Baltimore. You know, he be on that train back and forth. Like I don't know how many cities he traverses, but I know Baltimore and DC is like one for him. He knows it all. So, mystery. Yeah, yes, you knows it all. but yes, exactly. So, and Brother Fur, one of the things that you I think you highlight that I think is essential is this idea of being consciously aware, or consciously in alignment, or what people call mindful, you know, because we are, and they talk about this baffling of being, is that, I will just read it here. He says, he reflects on the universal mysterious experience of being human, how our lives are questions, how we often evade the deeper inquiries of life through success, busyness, or fear of solitude. So many times we live our lives not present. We're hiding, we're running, we're evading. We're not living in the moment. We're kind of like, we're trying to, it's so many people that you talk to, they really can't sit still and really be with themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that holistically. It's just, I think we need to stop making excuses on why I can't sit still for 2 minutes. I mean, I get it. Even I'm just going to be honest with you. Like even children at this point, I think that we all wired different, but I think disciplining ourselves is essential. And I remember when I was younger, and my teachers told me this. Now, I would have to reference my teachers. I don't know which one. But they told us about how the Native Americans had trained their children to be quiet when people were attacking the village, to kind of stay out of the way, to protect themselves. And then when you go in our schools, we say children can't sit down for 2 minutes. Well, children get to get up and walk out. To me, I get it, because some of us have a lot of energy. We can't sit still. So what happens is we want to say, well, I know how they feel. You know, I think instead of overcorrecting, yeah, maybe there should be some room for movement and play and all these things, but there should be some level of discipline required that a person can sit for some significant period of time, especially if he's angry or she's angry or she's frustrated or what have you, because we need to build up our emotional ability, capacity, all of those. We need to build up even a term I write in my book called, people talk about emotional maturity, but I've added a new term called intellectual maturity, because we overcorrect. And I'm gonna tie this back in. We overcorrect when we see that children has been, or we have felt like we weren't able to move, or we felt like the system has disserved us. We go to the opposite. We go all the way to the extreme versus saying, you know what, it's a both and. I do need to learn how to sit down and be quiet, and I need to move. You know what I mean? I need to learn to do both, and society can take everything into consideration. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because, as we know, many of us can't put the phone down. First and foremost, we can't slow this down without a phone. The phone is just an object, or even a book. It's something to keep us occupied from really dealing with our own self. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a book, a newspaper, a YouTube station, even running and walking sometimes. Anything can keep us busy. As you said, you can run and walk and not be present. As Baba talks about, you can be trying to do movements and postures and Tai Chi, and as yoga, and not be present. And the fact is, from what I hear from most people, it's about, from those who practice it I want to say those who practice on deeper levels, they say, and you even said it, like at one time it's about the postures, but then you begin to learn that it's deeper than the postures. Baba says behind Tai Chi, there's a philosophy. And it all comes to really, for the most part, connecting with ourselves. So let me go back to what Brother first said earlier. I'm going to read the whole section over. Cruz notes that to live consciously is to walk with mystery, not in avoidance. How do you avoid mystery? You know what I mean? Like, you're in essence, what it's saying is you gotta avoid making stuff up. You gotta avoid acting like you know things that you truly don't know. As Brother Kevin often says, he says, none of us have the monopoly on esoteric knowledge, but we act as if we do. And it's interesting because we will go from one system to the next system and say, this system was wrong, and this is the right system. I'm telling you, they're all wrong, but are all right at the same time. Ain't none of them. Look, I'm not saying that they're not perfect or they got imperfections. It's not even about them being imperfect. They all are there to serve you on one level. They're all not real in a sense, to be honest. They're made up. I'll just be straight. But we make up mysteries and beliefs every day. And the question is, again, how does it serve you? Because all types of things serve you until they don't serve you anymore. But the problem is we got addicted and caught up with the story as if the story was reality. And going back to what I'm saying, I saw somebody. All right, so let me keep going. So again, let me read this one more time. Cruz notes that to live consciously is to walk with mystery, not in avoidance, but in reflection, as you spoke about, Brother Fur. This orientation mirrors the heart of spiritual maturity. What I say, that's what I say. I say, to me, to be spiritually mature is to be comfortable with what you don't know, to be comfortable with the unknown, rather than acting and convincing. I know you convince yourself that you know more than you think you know. Hold on. Give her that. Give her. Say that again. And tell us more about.
Not as I get older.
What does that mean?
Because each and every day I figure out, oh, I don't know that. You know, you be thinking, you know, I know something. Then you say, that don't make no sense.
Yeah. And then it goes back to, thank you, Mama. She's saying with age, she realized that she's deluded herself for years. I'm sorry. And I'm saying you don't have to wait, because if I agree with this statement, to me, he says, the funniest of mortals and the kindest are those who are most aware of the baffle of being. Going back down again, say it one more time. I'll finish this time, y'all. Cruz notes that to live consciously is to walk with mystery, not in avoidance, but in reflection. This orientation mirrors the heart of spiritual maturity. This is me. And the deeper questions that any faith journey must face. Ashby, let's go into that system. We're going to go through the 3 systems today that I put down here. But Muhammad Ashby, how many people know Dr. Muhammad Ashby, or heard of him, or read some of his books or anything like that? My father put me on with Dr. Muhammad Ashby years ago. His Egyptian yoga book. I think I still have it. My father had a whole bunch of books that are falling apart, you know, and I think that was definitely one of the ones that's falling apart, because he always has these extra large books that, you know, after a while the pages start to kind of loosen up on them, you know, those type of things. Y'all like, nah, well, you know, that's a little bit too much information. Okay, pardon. I'm sorry. Look, y'all don't know. Go ahead, brother. For
nothing. Used books get wear and tear.
Say it again.
Used books get wear and tear.
Especially these. Oh, yeah. These type right here. For some reason. Yeah. So Ashby teaches that spiritual development follows a sacred initiatic path through 3 stages. The first stage, he calls it myth. I'm sorry for the writing being small, you all. The second stage is ritual. And the third stage is mystical philosophy. So the myth stage, he says that the description of the myth stage is the aspirant receives the story, beliefs, and outer teachings. Gods are seen as external beings. Then he also says in this stage, the spiritual focus is belief, learning, symbolic, and understanding. Then he goes to a next stage. See, that's the first stage. When we look at the stages of faith, that is believing, that is seeing God as something external. This is what he says. But he also says the spiritual focus is belief. As Brother Carlos said, I have to believe. You have to believe in the mystery. You have to believe in all your heart. You lean not to your own understanding. And that becomes a very interesting thing when I hear everybody's interpretation of the same book as if you have some special information, like Brother Kevin said, some special esoterical knowledge, like you have a monopoly on the same book. And so many people are walking around acting like they can read better than the next. Because you understand, you're reading with a worldly mind. And I'm reading with a spiritual mind. I mean, like the arrogance that we have when we believe things at this level, I think is a very dangerous level, to be honest. But I think it's necessary, perhaps, but it's a very dangerous level. I'm not even sure. You know, Bob, you got something? Oh, okay, look like you.
Well,
go ahead.
That's what I was thinking about, because when I went on my journey of looking for God, right, and I was like, who has him? Everybody said they got him. For real, that's true, you know. So I went looking everywhere that I could possibly go. And what I mean, that I went to Tibet. You know what I'm saying? I went to China. I went everywhere with their belief system. And to my own conclusion, If I got enough of all of that, I said, well, okay, I got it. To myself, I say, because God is everywhere that they believe to be there. So your belief system is what you believe in, is what you believe in. And it's all man-made. All man-made. So, I'm man too.
And when I think about that, Bob, thank you for that. When I go back to what Clyde Cruz says up in the first section, when he says, I'll read it again. He reflects on the universal mysterious experience of being human, how our lives are questions, how we often evade the deeper inquiries of life through, I'm going to skip over success and say through busyness. And some of us are so busy going through every tabernacle, every edifice, every spiritual house and system, and thinking we're going to find something that we didn't get in the other. And I promise you will. A different ritual that's going to get you to the same place, or maybe that one resonates with you more. Who knows? But the reality is the ritual, well, let's go into it. Ritual is the next phase that Muada Ashby speaks about. The seeker begins applying the teachings through action and devotion, ethics, and ceremony. That is ritual. And people often come to me and say, see, I didn't feel this. We have to be spiritual. And I say, so what are you calling spiritual? Well, see, because people think spiritual is something that you do, not something that you are. People think being spiritual is an action, not something that you are. Someone told me you're not spiritual. I said, well, I think you are confusing religious ritual with what you think spirituality is. Go ahead, brother Lewis.
And I think, like, just piggybacking on what you said, also people think that's something that you could get, like you can just obtain spirituality, like it can just come in and just touch your life or whatever. When in all actuality, if you are a believer, like people claim to be, then you believe, then the spirit is everywhere. The spirit is within you. The spirit is boundless. Spirit itself is boundless. So people think you, like I said, you can obtain the spirit, or you became spiritual, or you know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they feel like they can say you're not spiritual, but one day you can be. And that's not it. The power of the essence of spirit is everywhere.
And if you look up spirit, I think it only means breath. You see what I'm saying? So the breath of life, because when you ain't breathing, no spirit.
Mm-hmm. Well, then you're gonna get debated with that one, but you dropped the mic though. But
so from what I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, but I tend to find the opposite of what you're saying, and not to be opposing.
No, that's good. We love it. We need that.
I think, at least in my social group, of my peer group, or people I speak with, they oftentimes religion is forced upon them, and sometimes not. They may feel like a spiritual connection to that religion. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just doing the ritual,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't really like connect with the church. Maybe they do. I'm not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I've run into a lot of people who break away from religious structure and the religious rituals, and then they say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. And at least what I'm pulling from that, when I run it or encounter people who say those things, is that they put to the side
Mm-hmm.
organized religion, and now they feel like there's a sense of like, there is God, but I don't know what it is, but I practice in my own way, but it isn't structured like religion has taught me to be.
Yeah. So what are you disagreeing with though? I don't see it.
That's why I said I don't know if I'm disagreeing or not. That's kind of how I interpret the spirituality versus the ritual of religion.
But you said one thing. You said they still created their own practices.
Yeah, and sometimes I think people just say that. I don't know if
They still be what they were.
They
They
just,
just
whatever
don't.
they doing. And
Like
then
that's
they
why
like,
they
oh,
get
I'm
called
spiritual,
out.
I'm not religious, but they're not
They-
really doing.
They have become spiritual because they don't want to be under the orthodoxy.
Yeah, but and what I'm hearing from you, and I'm asking. This isn't me telling. This is me asking. That there's a next level where you take on spirituality, but then you create your own rituals.
Well, you can, and I'm not even saying it's next level.
Okay.
But what I am saying is that people still confuse what ritual with being spiritual. They don't believe spiritual is a thing that you are. They believe spirituality or spirit or connecting. You have to do it through some form in practice, and that practice has to be such a way.
Yeah.
You know. So what people do is many times, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with practices. I want to repeat that. But when you're looking at other people because they don't do the practice as being less than, then you are nothing more than a religious person who decided that you didn't want to be part of the orthodoxy. You understand? Or the institution. And that's why some people that are part of the institutions, like the church and the mosque and the temple and all these type of places, who come from these organized traditions, call them lazy or undisciplined religious people. Because they don't want a person to be their priest, their minister. They don't want the church over them. See, that becomes problematic in some sense as well. But we'll get there. So let's go to the next one. So again, he says, Dr. Muwada Ashby says, ritual. The seeker begins applying the teachings through action, devotion, ethics, and ceremony. Nothing's wrong with it. I just want to be clear. But we do not confuse that with what spiritual is. Again, the focus is practice, discipline, purification. And part of the issue is lots of us are all everywhere because we lack discipline. We do everything. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it per se, but some of us don't want to be a part of any system because we don't want to give what it takes to matriculate through these processes. And you don't even have to truly believe the thing like the first level to actually go through a system, because we all go through systems we don't believe every day. We discipline ourselves to go through them. You don't have to believe it on the first level, which is myth. You don't have to believe it on a mythic level, Mama Luca.
Yeah, the other side of that would be people don't want to submit to indoctrination and assimilation. Mm-hmm. Because it will limit possibly the ability of free thinking and expanding oneself in spiritual growth.
Yeah, I just spoke to that though. You don't have to believe it.
Yeah.
You can go through all types of systems. I went to school and didn't believe half the stuff. But we saw some value in that. But there was things in it that was beneficial. You don't have to submit to indoctrination to go through a system. You can practice Tai Chi and not believe none of the theory. You could practice. Go ahead, Bob.
It's like I always say, it's like a sifter. You know what a sifter is? You put flour on top, right? And you do like that, and the good flour come down, you sift it through, and the bed stay up top. You got to know when to keep what is the bed and what to keep up top and keep it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. In my research, my study, the same people who often would say that, but they also belong to all these things. I had more Christian EFI Catholics than anything. They practice all of it because somewhere in their mind, one of these things they got something. It's going to work, or there's some fear there, or there's a lack of discipline. Baba, let me know my brother.
Yes, I agree with. Along those lines, I believe also that with religion, people are seeking some kind of structure. Like I think some people may want to go on a spiritual journey, but it's so open. You know that like Baba said, you went all over seeking God, and I think sometimes a lot of people can't handle that openness of thought, and it feels like I'm lost now, so I have to be drawn back to something with some structure. This has to be the way. This is the way.
I think it's different though, because I think we're talking about maybe three different type of folk. Some people into everything. You're not seeking structure. If you're into everything, you're seeking, hodgepodge. I created, and I do what I do. I'm afraid. I'm looking for something. That's nothing wrong with that, but that's where you are. Some people go back because they still say, I practice Islam, although I don't believe in none of it. I practice it for discipline. Some people say I practice EFI and I believe it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, I work with people every day, and I see how all these systems have their strengths and their weaknesses. Where people are, I have people that I work with who practice EFI, practice tarot cards, practice comedic teachings, and they find it very difficult, and they believe it. I mean, they believe every last one of the things that's going on.
And they mix them things together.
Yeah, they mix them up, conflate them,
and it gets a little confusing.
They talk to psychics. They do all the things. That is a lack of discipline. I try to tell you, look, if you say you practice EFI, go talk to your priest. But you don't want to discipline yourself to even the priest. You know how many people I counsel? It doesn't even matter. Christian religion. They come talk to me because their religion probably doesn't even say they should talk to me. But they talk to me because they don't even trust the minister. Or they don't want to be under the minister, but they want to stay in the faith.
Or they don't believe it. Like I said, if you're a believer, they practice what they don't believe, because sometimes people will go outside of the minister thinking they are like, well, let me go talk to them and he won't know about it.
Yes.
But their belief supposed to be like, God knows everything. So God knows that you're going to talk to somebody else and all, but they feel like, oh, let me go over here so the priest and the church won't know what's going on. But like, they're not even practicing their own faith.
So it's various reasons why people do what they do. And when I'm in it, but that comes back to the baffle of being. Many of us. And what I'm saying in all of it is essential to be disciplined. Whenever you're doing what you're doing, make sure you're doing it in a disciplined fashion. So then we get to the mythic philosophy or mystical philosophy, that level that he speaks about. He said, one realizes the gods and teachings as inner symbols and enters direct union with the divine. The focus is union, transcendence, embodiment. What does that mean? Tell me.
Using Christianity as a base, just because any base, I guess, could work, but that's the one that comes to mind. But like, what would Jesus do mentality, like being like the being opposed to just practicing the teachings as if it's something outside of you, really like embodying the personal principles as well as empathy, as well as the caring and the virtues, and living that life, opposed to just studying it as some external part of you, is my interpretation.
Yeah. That sounds. Anybody else think?
I think that oftentimes we can't get to union and transcendence and embodiment because we're responding out of fear. And so I'm going to do this to preserve myself from that, or I'm going to and putting the limitations on ourselves by what an institution says you can or can't do this way or that way, and not either or both, as you say.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the questions I always had, they used to say you was born in sin, and that's Christianity, right? And I couldn't figure it out. You know, everybody say, well, how can a beautiful little baby be born into sin? But then when I was reading mythology, it came to me. I'm like, so that's could be a reason. It was my reason, because sin is the moon in some structures. You know what I'm saying? Some belief system. So the moon is called sin, and the month is what? Named after the moon, in a sense. So if you're born in any day of the month, you're born in sin. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes mythology can bring some of this stuff that we listen to into a light, kind of, sort of.
So you're saying that it's changed so many times over the years,
right here.
It's changed so many times over the years, and then interpretations of it, and then adoption of it. Like some things are missed, and the translation isn't always brought over.
Some things came over with it, like Dr. Martin Luther King say, the mystic religions. He talk about the mystic religions that flowed over into everything. You know what I'm saying? Or borrowed, some people say, from other things, and some things just stuck, even if it's not. Like,
did you say borrowed?
Yeah, some people want to say stolen,
okay,
or that rolled over into another religion. You see what I'm saying? Like, say for instance, I was joking with y'all on the thing the other day. It was raining and it was daytime and the sun was shining. So what we say? The devil beating his wife. You see what I'm saying?
You got something? Brother Lewis.
Yeah. I like Baba said, a lot of these things are mysteries that are ancient, and ancient civilizations tried their best to understand these things. So they gave meaning to things that may not have particularly been true, but the way they understood it. So they understood the floods and how the moon acted and how, animals did this and all of this stuff like that. And it did carry over. And then when it got into structured religion, it was explained basically as just metaphors of life. Like, these things are just made up. They're the things that happen, and people explain the way they explain it. And these organized religions just use those exact things as metaphors of life. But some people don't get that, and they take it as literal. So they'll read, just go to the Bible. It said that, this happened. And you don't realize it's a metaphor that was passed on centuries before a Bible was even thought of, brought into this same belief system, but they're using it to say, okay, this is the only way we know to explain this. So,
like, say for instance, I know everybody know this one too, real quick, is that don't wash clothes on New Year's, right? Get all your clothes clean. You see what I'm saying? I was like, Mono, you say that all the time. And then I was reading about, if you wash clothes and you have clothes on the line, if Odin is coming through with his men, he would get hung on the line, and he would curse the whole village. So you go back to Odin with that. You see what I'm saying?
So let me look at this really quickly. What I'm hearing. So I'm hearing that some reasons why we look at these things is due to fear. And I wanted us to look at this thing as a level thing. So I want us to look at it in levels, as Dr. Ashby puts down: myth, ritual, and mystical philosophy. We will never get to the mystical philosophy in a true sense if we're stuck at myth. if we're stuck at we have to believe things. We have to believe these things. And I'm saying whether or not yours is from a institution or something you made up, we get stuck at the myth. And everybody's myth is different. The reality is when like some in people, as my father said, I forgot, he has a story. He says, I can't say it, but maybe he'll jump in. And he speaks about everybody's laughing at everybody else's stuff. Just think about it. It's like me laughing and say you believe in Santa Claus, and I say you believe in the tooth fairy. So it's like we both believe in something that's just not real. And the fact that we're looking for something, the reality is many of us are looking for what we believe is truth. That's why many of us are going from here to there to there to there. We're looking for truth. You ain't gonna find it in none of those places.
I'm sorry to laugh.
No,
so earlier today,
okay.
My daughter's birthday is in a couple weeks, or maybe next week. Honestly, late next week. But she is snooping around for presents, right? So she goes into her mom's closet and finds two baby teeth, right? And put two and two together and was like, I think mommy's a tooth fairy. Right? So I had to, so her mom gave me a look and like talk to her, right? I'm like, just because you now understand this doesn't mean you should ruin it for your sister. Let her enjoy what you had the ability to enjoy while you had the chance to enjoy it. Because even most recently, she lost a tooth a week ago, and that's where one of her teeth came from. And my other daughter lost a tooth a week ago. I don't know if my wife hoards teeth or not, but my point being that like when you said that, it kind of reminded me of that thing. Like I upheld the myth, even though I could have debunked it, because honestly, I don't care about the tooth fairy, but I could have debunked it, but I upheld it, and I kind of indoctrinated her into the idea of upholding the myth in order to kind of like keep the innocence of it. You know what I mean? But it just had me go through all those things. So that was me laughing out loud.
So that was great. The reality is this. Another reality is this. My father took away tooth very early from me, and Santa Claus too. And in my mind, I wanted to create it, although he told me that it didn't exist. And I'm saying that many of us do that.
Yeah.
I wanted to create it like so. So Santa Claus doesn't exist, but so you're saying like I wanted to create Claus. You understand? No, just to believe in something. Superstition. Superstition, as Stevie Wonder speaks about it. And, we want to understand things that we don't always say. We want to understand things. We believe in things we don't understand. And I'm saying that even though I'm sitting in this circle, we know that. I mean, it's happening. Bob Albert.
Speaking of Santa Claus,
Claus is popular.
Really, one of the most shocking and disappointing things I've ever experienced as a child was my mother, told me that there really was a Santa Claus and bring the gifts and everything's come down the chimney. Okay. So I'm like, stayed up late at night, opening the door, looking to see when is he going to come down. My mother might catch me, so close the door. But, I've always wondered, like, how does this make sense? How could this big fat man in a red suit on top get down through that chimney as dirty as it is without getting dirty? You know what I mean? And then he's got reindeers on top of the house. You niggas slip and fall if you got reindeers on top.
Dr. Ray said that's the setup for the bigger myths.
Yeah. And then she told me that he's coming to town. He really is coming to town. There's a parade downtown. You know what I mean? And so we went downtown, and I followed the parade all the way down to the end of the parade. And he got off this carriage. He took off his beard and hat.
Oh boy.
And see that blew my mind. I mean, oh my God.
So he was a
And see,
seeker for
you know,
life.
that hurt though. I mean, because I've been told lies by someone that I love,
Yeah,
someone that raised me, you know.
I've heard that.
That's a tough thing to get over.
I've heard that, Baba Hall, that many people found out that their mother, there was a traumatic response. They felt their mother and father lied to them. And as I was saying earlier, Dr. Ray, and I think maybe some others say, I know Dr. Ray says specifically that it is these myths, the Tooth Fairy and the Santa Clauses, to set us up for these greater myths. And the interesting thing is we can't tell that these are myths. Like I'm saying, like, you go from, pardon me, y'all, but you go from Christianity and say that's fake. Then you go to Islam and you believe that's real. Then you go from Islam and say that's fake. Then you go to Ifa and you say that's real. I don't care if African and kente cloth is on it. I don't. It's still not real. I mean, but I have people I work with these things, and they will not do things. See, it's until it's and then there's argument about whether Africans really truly believe these things in a figurative sense. I mean, believe these things, or they saw it as figuratively, right? Even from ancient Kemetic terms and things like that. But as Dr. Ashby is saying, he's looking at, look, so you get to the mythical philosophy phase when you understand that the ritual is discipline, when you understand that the myth is not real, but then you can become more in tune with yourself when one realizes from a mythic philosophical perspective, one realizes the gods and the teachings as inner symbols and enters direct union with what we can call divine. Mama.
This is kind of a different kind of question, I guess.
No, just put it closer to me.
Oh. Do you feel that most people choose a religion because of trying to figure out what's going to happen to them after they die? Or do they do it because they're really looking for the right way to live life?
So I think there's a bit of all of that, and maybe both and. And I was going to say, yeah, most people are trying, all of that, right? And especially depends on your religion, because afterlife is not an aspect of all religious ideas, right? But how do I benefit myself here? How do I have discipline? How do I become blessed? Because it's ignorance in religions. I mean, I'm not saying there are those that are better than others, but they're all bad. They all are. Okay, just think about it. When you look at it from a mythic level, you got to understand you're dealing with a child. So children will cause harm when they believe they've grown up and they're still looking at things from an elementary standpoint. Then ritualistic is adolescent. So now look at me. I can do this better than you. I can do that better than you. But you still are adolescent, just flashing, showing showmanship, how I can bow and how I can prostrate and how, I can hikamasha and all that, right? How I can do all these things. I can hikamasha better than you. You understand? And you believe that is spiritual. But you're arrogant because you think that dance and that song makes you somewhat more superior. Everybody competing in that on ritualistically. And some people, as Dr. Clark said, let's bring them back in the room. He said we can out pope the Pope and out Muhammad. I'm not talking about our dear brothers with the prostration mark on their head, but we know that lots of them just put it there. They rub their head on concrete to show that I am more pious. I am more in line with my deen than you. It's a ritual, not a real, that's at the ritual level. versus what he's calling mystical philosophy, when you have connected with the divine of your imagination and connected through discipline and knowing that you are responsible for you and how you think, feel, behave, operate, and relate with others. Because when you are operating as an adolescent, let me out ritualize you, or as a child who believes these things hook, line, and sinker, or one who's an adolescent who still believes these beliefs that you held on since childhood, you believe that somehow you are more superior than others. You believe that your faith is better. You believe that the way that you pray is better. You believe the God that you worship is better. You can say stupid stuff like God bless America and F the rest of the world. You don't have to say F the rest of the world when you say God bless America. That's what it says. And that's what it means. But you believe these things because you believe in a God that sees you, and you can say things. I have favor. What gives you favor?
It's just like I'm looking at two things for myself. Like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Like, say, for instance, for real, yeah. All the males in the wintertime loses their horns or the antlers, right? The females are the only ones that have them. So Rudolph is a female. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? And the other thing is this. When I was doing practice for martial arts, if you see a person with his corns on these two right here, that means he's training hard. So I used to hit trees. And yeah, and they got all bruised up, and yeah, right. But if somebody knew the art, they said, well, dang, I can see here art. You know what I'm saying? Things that we do. That's what I'm saying. Things that we do.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob. But let's go move to this African proverb. It says, when there's no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot hurt you. So get ourselves right. We give too much. We have what they call an external locus of control in our community. We give too many people power over us, including Trump. I want to cuss, but I ain't gonna do it. I want to say F Trump. And whoever else F you Trump. Believe is your God. You don't make God. Don't make any of these people your God. And as Dr. Amos Wilson said, they don't have as much power as they have you believing that they have. And go ahead, Brother Pillows.
This has been something. Me and my wife talk about this. You kind of hit it on the nose. Like a lot of these people, like Trump and these. I don't want to go into the whole thing, but you know how I always develop it. I always describe them as these Western thinking theologians and philosophers or whatever. Is they don't actually believe in the stuff that they are talking about or that they want you to be. They use that because they know how deep and spiritual and how in belief that we are. So if they believed half of the stuff that they tell us to believe, they wouldn't do the things that they do. Like they can't believe in a fiery pit of hell and then put people through the things that they put people through. Or live their life how they live their life.
Absolutely.
So when you think of a Trump and these type of people, when they're saying these things, they don't believe in the same spiritual stuff that they preach. These evangelicals don't believe. They don't believe. They don't believe. But guess what? They believe. They think. But they understand that we believe. We're searching. As melanated people, and I'm not talking about the people that's all over the place, but I'm just saying like. The people who are believing this structured religion, they'll accept not having peace and whatever on earth because they'll get it when they die. And all along, the people who are telling you this stuff, they have all the stuff on earth right now.
Yes, Bob. I be trying to figure out why people are so scared to die if they believe in heaven. Because God, look, if I believed in heaven, you better believe I wouldn't be staying here.
That was like Bookman in Haiti.
Yeah,
that's why how he got the Haitians to get rid of the Bible, because he said everything in the Bible that they saying they are not. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
How they can be what they say, all this holy and stuff, and the stuff they putting us through.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And just us.
And
Even.
just us.
Let's
And
talk
just
about
us.
us.
That's what I
And
said.
look, the people, why are we doing fasting? Why are we eating vegan and all that to live longer? Look, heaven is a short trip away. Let me enjoy my bread and my crumbs and just say, I believe Christ died and the third day he rose again, and I still will enjoy myself and not discipline myself while I'm here. And some people literally don't. That's part of the problem.
Yep.
Because some people literally believe that heaven is only, and when they believe, you don't believe like they believe.
You don't.
And that's why they saying, look, I'm gonna eat. Look, God got me.
Yep.
But you don't believe when you told them to stop eating.
They got cancer. Don't worry.
Yeah,
God got me.
Yeah, God got me.
God
Now,
got
I respect that more because that person literally believes it. Now, it's not really all that true, but the people who act like they believe it but don't believe it, why are you trying to lengthen your time period before you get to heaven?
Yep.
Why are you staying in hell so long?
Yep.
Go ahead, bro.
What?
Oh Lord.
Something Mama and Donu mentioned that kind of made me process just reflecting some my own experiences or people around me. Like I have an uncle who passed, God rest the dead, and he was stone cold starch Rastafarian. Hit like as long as I've known him, locks. He would everything straight down the line from smoking to being pescatarian to just like refusing to just everything you can imagine, right? And then unfortunately when he was passing on his deathbed, and this is where it gets interesting, right? Because I've never really experienced this other than this on his he lived this way his whole life to just, and then on his deathbed he switched to Christianity, and it like threw me on a loop. It really did. It was hard being at his funeral in a church with a bunch of Rastafarian dudes who they're just as confused as everybody else. And like, so that idea of being versus where you will be in your afterlife has always been interesting. Especially after that experience. And, at least the one thing I pull from that is like, both of those things are important. Like, I want to find the compromise of like who I want to be, because I don't think anything is right or wrong, but I think you need to have something. I agree with that. Like, and whatever you stick with, that's what you have. I want to find something that I can live by, that I feel good living by, that I can have a legacy by, that I feel decent passing it on, but definitely not something that on my deathbed I will change and then say I'm completely on the opposite end of the. I mean, he went from, you mention a white man around him and he's angry, to white Jesus. It was mind blowing. It was really mind blowing.
I have a question. Was he a Christian at first though? Was he born and raised a Christian?
He was, but look, I got a conspiracy theory that my aunt converted him without him knowing before he passed. But that's a lot to say online, right?
Well,
but I can't even imagine him. I mean, I've never seen him without a beard, and he was in his casket with no facial hair, and it was jarring,
Brother Los.
See, yeah. So
he caught the Holy Ghost over
yeah,
there.
but hey, listen, because I
don't know what he did.
No, so that is a great point, and I believe that happens a lot, and it's more for the. I want to use the word legacy. I don't have a word I'm trying to put together, but it's more for your loved ones. Like, the reason why I say that, you can go to a funeral of a dude who killed people. I mean, he ravaged the neighborhood. He did all this, that, and other. And when they read that eulogy, they'll say he gave his life to God at an early age. He did all of this, that, and the other. And I'm like, wait a minute, bro. This, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna say something nice, but that's for the family. Because that's for the that don't have nothing to do with him and his path that he's going on or anything like that. Because the family don't want to hear when you come in there, oh, this dude, man, listen, he ran the streets, boy, he was killed, boy, he was a menace. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in the church want to hear that stuff. So even that stuff is for the family. And my second point is this, like, going back to this, and I don't want to keep giving power to those who I hate to give power to, but the other thing is also, I had an argument with one of my friends who's really heavy in the church, brought up and everything with his family. He'll argue the church to the end. And his thing is the covenant of Jesus. And with the covenant of Jesus, all you do is say, I give my life to Christ, and you are saved. And it totally nullifies the old covenant, the covenant of God himself, who, when you did something, you were punished for it. You were punished for it. But the new covenant allows those people who we don't want to give power to do whatever they want to, because at the end they can do they can do that. They can say, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. And in their mind, they're saved and they're going to heaven. No matter all the crazy stuff they did. No matter what, because that's the new covenant. And me and him had a big argument about that. I'm like, God's power in the Old Testament, if you believe, is totally nullified.
Well, yeah. This is it. Fear is another thing, right? People, they literally they bring in the chaplain sometimes. They do all types of things. But the reality is, we ain't doing it, but talking about one belief system. It doesn't take much to become a Christian from a Rastafarianism. It's another version of offspring of Christianity. So it's not that much different. You know, you just think Haile Selassie is the second coming. And Haile Selassie told you himself you're not the second coming, but you still believe that he is the second coming. Now, I'm not saying anything wrong with it. It's a beautiful culture, but it still ain't real. It still ain't factual. Even the guy you call God told you, no, calm down, pump your brakes.
Did Jesus ever say he was the did Jesus ever say
I don't know what the Bible said. I ain't never talked to Jesus.
No,
I know Haile Selassie though. He was on TV.
Yeah, but according to the Bible, did Jesus ever say he was the? I think he did. The scripture said it. He did say it.
I believe he did say.
Yeah. Okay.
But he also said you are as well.
Right. He say as I do, you can do greater. That's why I always.
And he also says our Father.
Right. Exactly.
My Father.
That's why I said some people. I understand that. That's why I was bringing it out. So did Jesus alienate himself to be the one? Like religion say Jesus is the one, but he says we are.
You know what? For real though, some Christians got that twisted, and they made Jesus God, even though he say he's not even in the Bible, as the Bible say so. Yeah.
Well, that's all types of confusing things. Let's keep it a buck. It's all types of confusing things in the book.
Right.
If you believe it on the mythical level, you're going to try to read a book that's got 55 books or something in it. How many books? 66? That's including the Apocrypha. What was it? The Apocrypha? Look, none of it makes sense. Let's just keep that a buck. You can go and find one verse to discredit another verse. I mean, because so it doesn't really that's why I'm like to me, it's even pointless to kind of point out certain things in the Bible, because you can go and find it, and you got to also understand, you got to lean to your spiritual understanding, not thy understanding. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. That's what you can't argue with the Bible against somebody who says that you have to have a spiritual understanding. It's a waste of time. But what I am saying is, look, the book is confusing like all other mythology. It's all mythology. It's all made up. So I don't have if a person, I would if I was believing in hell and all that too, I would say I professing Christ on my deathbed too. Because I'll do Buddha, Muhammad, I'll do Krishna and Ishtar and all of them,
bases.
To cover all bases. Now, look, let me tell y'all something though. If y'all see me do that, look, y'all know somebody lied. Y'all look, my wife give me a Christian funeral. Know that she lied to y'all. Yes, sir. Look, wait.
And people do that every day.
Yeah.
I mean, every day. I was even, I'm part of that. My nephew here.
The choice,
huh?
the decision. You saying?
No, my nephew had passed, and his mother really loved him, but he was in Islam, and she said, "Nah, he's not in Islam. He's gonna be buried a Christian." And I understand that because in her mind, she wanted her son
to go to heaven.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's the mythic level,
right?
Yeah. So let's do this real quick. We're gonna get certain people to volunteer to read. We can start with Brother Abu Jamal. The different stages of this, what's coming up. So James Fowler, stages of faith development. James Fowler, stages of faith development. Fowler, a developmental psychologist and theologian, proposed 6 stages of faith as a human matures psychologically and spiritually. These stages are not strictly linear, but they outline a progressive deepening of faith, expressing an identity. I'm just letting you know I don't agree with the ages at all. But all right, so let's start with stage 1. And then somebody pick up the next one. Hold on, I don't think you on there.
Stage 1, intuitive projective faith, characteristics, fantasy filled, imaginative, shaped by stories and images, typically early childhood.
So let's read that again. Characteristics, fantasy filled, imitative, shaped by stories and images. Typically early childhood. All right. So that's intuitive, fantasy filled, imitative, shaped by stories. My father says that he has a story. He says, think about it, Jamal. My father says that when he was little, he was trying to figure out why he couldn't catch the Holy Ghost. He wasn't imitating good enough. So he wasn't imitating good enough. You know what I mean? Like you see, I think for some people though, just to be honest, some people are very literal in the way that they're wired. Like some people ain't about, if I don't feel it, I don't feel it. I'm not really about to put on a show and this ain't real. I think I'm kind of like that type of person. What do you say? If it don't itch, I ain't scratching. You know what I mean? So I think, Bob, that little bit it was you. Stage 2. But you know what? You sound really good, Brother Abu Jamal. Could you go with stage 2? Your voice, that mic sounds pretty good. We're going to take this one home, Brother Abu.
Okay, yes, sir. Stage 2, mythic, literal faith. Characteristics, beliefs are literal and concrete. Justice and fairness are key. School age years.
Mythic and literal faith. Beliefs, and then, look, keep in mind, I'm at a Jesuit institution. I just want to preface this. Known Jesuits, what is it, St. Ignatius or something? They are known for what? Education. They are renowned for education. And this is what I'm learning in their institution, right? Let's keep going. So beliefs are literal and concrete. This is the second level, mythic, literal faith. I'm talking about in a pastoral counseling program, right? And then you go to stage 3, Baba.
Synthetic, conventional faith. Characteristics. Faith is shaped by group norms and relationships. Beliefs not deeply examined. Adolescence and beyond.
Synthetic and conventional faith. That kind of goes with what I'm saying a little earlier. It ties back to what I said when we talk about Ashby. When we're doing these rituals, it's kind of like we're in an adolescent stage. And I think we can connect this synthetic, conventional faith with what Ashby speaks about, which I also call adolescent, not even knowing. You got something, Mama? The 4th stage.
4. Individuative, reflective faith. Characteristics. Personal reflection begins. Faith becomes an internal, critically chosen system, early childhood.
What happened?
Early adulthood. I apologize.
Individuative reflective faith. Personal reflection begins. Faith becomes an internal, what is it? An internal, critically chosen system. We spoke about some of this today, right? It can become an internal, critically chosen system. Early adulthood. Now, I don't think these add up. I challenged him. That's why he also said it's not linear. And he also will say, and it's also important to know that many people might don't reach these phases. Some people get stuck in stage 1, right? So we have stage 5.
Stage 5, conjunctive faith. Characteristics, integration of paradox, acceptance of mystery, awareness of others' truths, midlife and beyond.
So when you get to stage 5, it's this conjunctive faith. Integration of that which doesn't necessarily even, it just seems it's in conflict with one another. It doesn't make sense. Acceptance of mystery. Acceptance of mystery, knowing that you don't know. In fact, some people say teaching mystery. How do you teach mystery? I think that the point is to accept that mystery is mystery. You may never know. That's what makes a thing mystical or mystery or mysterious, or what's the other word though? Yeah, that. Y'all got a lot of words. Y'all good. Y'all starting to sound French too. So again, the integration of paradox, acceptance of mystery, awareness of others' truths. See, because many of us, we don't get here. We ain't accepting nothing else nobody else said, because my truth is the only truth, and there's no other truth in this house. And we are abusing one another with it. I put a post out a few days ago and said that people can be disrespectful in their ignorance and expect you to be respectful in your knowledge. The more ignorant, let's go back, that's more childlike. We believe things that are not true. We all believe something that's not true, but I'm saying in a faith, when we talk about faith. Oh, microphone.
You mean like taking it as face value as fact versus taking it as allegory or like the deeper lesson that is intended to be?
Yeah, because I don't even think the ones who say that they take it as allegory and deeper levels ain't even doing that.
But that's called indoctrination, because they don't tell you that this is mythical. You see what I'm saying? They tell you this is true. This is it. You understand? Yeah, that's the only difference.
And then those who say they look at it as allegory, they want to make it special too.
Right.
Because of 33 chambers of, when you're going up the third of the vertebrae and the chakras and you understand you hit the kundalini and you hit all of that. And I'm talking about mystic Christianity. They call it mystics. I mean, I'm not saying that stuff is not good. And,
it has its place.
Yeah, but it ain't no truer than what the other. It ain't no truer than what was going on before. You have to make something deeper, and you have to make the deeper true. I'm okay with something being deeper, but the deeper is allegory. It is figurative. It helps you understand things and conceptualize things in ways that is poetic. It's poetry. It's literature. It's metaphor. Metaphors, allegories, these things help you understand things. Song and dance help you tap into things that you don't necessarily have words for.
And I tell you, it's another good picture. American Gods, I think it was. Yeah, it's and they go into the whole mystery. Oh yeah. They go into the whole mystery of everything. It touches everything. You know what I'm saying? It's heavy, but don't get caught in it.
Mm-hmm. Now this last one, stage 6, hit us up.
Yes. Universalizing faith. Characteristics. Rare. Radical compassion and selfishness. Complete alignment with universal love and justice.
And let me go back. Thank you for that. When you go back to conjunctive faith, right? One thing to consider is this. It says the integration of paradox, acceptance of mystery, awareness of others' truths. And it said midlife and beyond. So it's saying that even though you understand these things as not necessarily 100% factual, you can then go back and still integrate yourself back into schools like Islam or, for example, if I practice Ifa, or if I practice Kemetic types of spirituality, or if I practice Christianity or Islam, where I'm able to still gather, commune, engage, and not be so upset, not be so angry, not trying to tear everything down, not, like literally understand that there's levels to this. Because lots of times what happens is just like we said earlier, when we found out that someone lied to us about Christmas, sometimes that can hurt us. But when we learned that we was lied about religion, I think we're going to a very similar type of hurt. And I think we have to be we do have to be careful, especially if we don't have places where people can commune. Because I remember I was a part of the African Village and Cultural Center, and people would call me from all around the country because of some of the things that Dr. Ray says in his videos. And they will call me, and they'd be no good. And as much as this sounds like I'm saying something, as much that I'm not saying, because there's deeper levels, or there's things that people will take away from you. Although I'm saying this is allegory, I still understand in your mind we still hold on to it, but I'm not confronting it directly. If I was to confront it directly, you will have to begin to look at the figures and all these different things and start asking questions. And those things, if it's not done with care, it can really have people feeling hopeless, lost, and traumatized.
You remember the sister that started crying over there in Kemet? And she was a very Christian woman. She said, "My God, what am I going to do now?" Remember she started crying. Mm-hmm. Where I'm gonna go? I done lost Jesus. I lost my son. Yeah, that's how she said it. And now I done lost Jesus. I'm like, wow. But that's tough.
So again, universalizing faith, it says, is rare, radical, compassion. They say that only a few people get here. People challenge this, and they say people like Dr. King and Gandhi and Mother Teresa. Radical compassion and selflessness, complete alignment with universal love and justice. And I was thinking, just to close out, I think that this idea of universal love is also a myth, and we'll talk about that another day. We'll talk about that another day, because, and I'll just leave with it like that. Like, I think we stay in these false realities. The universe is not this neat place. And it's never going to be a time where people universally love like you think they're going to love. You will be the representative of love. And there's always going to be some people that's representative of causing you hell. It doesn't even make sense. I say you understand that you should have some hell and some love in you. Because sometimes you gotta give somebody who calls you some hell to take care of those who you love. Closing words, everybody. Anybody takeaways? Okay. I got Mommy Donnie shaking her leg. I ain't never seen her shake her leg. She's her nerves. Did I come back too soon? Closing words, takeaways. Anybody before we wrap it up?
I think real quick. I think it's like I say again, when a person is brought up in a thing, in a belief system, it's really hard to get out of that system if you don't have the mind frame or the curiosity to do that. And then when you even want to do that, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're crossing the line now. You're crossing a line that you wasn't taught. I'm speaking for myself now. And it's like hard getting over to the other side,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But once you, like me now, I can sit back and look at all, and I say, I give you the right to believe in what you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do to you. And if you believe in it, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly kind of what I was going to say. And just to say the same, what you believe in doesn't affect me.
I'm not sure about that.
Like, no, what I'm saying is, well, we can debate.
Let's do it.
What I'm saying is that what you believe in, basically what I'm saying is I don't have to believe in it. So it doesn't. So maybe I used the wrong word. It does. I think what everybody does affects everything, because, like I said, in my
he debated himself.
Everything is connected. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I said everything is correct, but what I'm saying is that you can believe in what you want to believe in. I don't have to. Like, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't affect what I have to believe in. That's what I'm saying.
I want to challenge that, because what somebody else or a nation can believe in can get another nation killed.
So he already corrected it, though.
Okay.
Yeah, he agreed.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, I'm just at a space of being beautifully baffled and just walking it out.
Beautifully baffled.
All right.
I'm walking it out. No judgment, from just really trying to learn everything that I can, and that which is good, apply it to my life so that I can be a better human being.
Like I say, what's the Dalai Lama? He was supposed to come on TV that morning. He was going to tell you what life is and what is afterlife. I couldn't wait to hear this man talk, because that's where the frame of my mind I was in then. I was in Tibet, everything. Mm-hmm. And this man got up and he said, "We all fear the unknown, don't we?"
And I challenged that. But yeah. Say it again. Yeah. Well, I will say probably, I think statistically he might be, most of us are, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Just some closing thoughts. I think my initial thought about what was mentioned on the cruise, I was reflecting as we were talking more, and I think there was some judgment in, like, my analogy of the hike, because maybe for them the distraction is the phone, but maybe they are the distraction for me. Like, I use them the same way they use their phone, because that whole fear of solitude, that's a real thing, because to be out there by yourself, you don't know who you are, what you are, until you're there by yourself, doing it by yourself, right? And I know who I am in proximity to other people, but I'm only who I really am by myself. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing being, something I thought that was interesting was the myth, ritual, and mystical philosophy. I think that the first two are interchangeable in terms of, like, when somebody can reach those, because some people get the story first, or some people just start the ritual first and then they get the story in the mix. But that seeing it in yourself and embodying it is, I imagine that as like the higher level of all of it. It's not the allegory, it's like the embodiment. And then the last part I thought was really interesting with Fowler, because it, well, specifically stage 3 and stage 5, because stage 3 being the collective norm of whatever the ritual is and believing on that level. Stage 4 being like then taking it and saying, well, I'm going to own this outside of the collective. I think that was kind of what I was mentioning with the very first part. Like, who you are by yourself is really who you are. You are who you are when nobody's watching. So like, if you have the faith and you have all the things and nobody has to monitor it, then you're like doing it from the most authentic version of you. But then I also like that what came after that was that it's only, well, I'm interpreting it as it's after you go through that individual stage that then you can kind of like view other people as the individual and not as a collective. That's like just where my mind went as we were going through that part. This is an interesting discussion. I will say it's very complex because there's so many different religions and there's so many different faiths. And I mean, Christianity obviously has so many subsets. And then, but yoga does that also. Like yoga has so many subsets. And then I don't know. I mean, I know only of 2 or 3 maybe main ones with Islam, but like I just imagine that there's so many ways
they have
can
subsets,
interpret.
yes.
So many ways people can interpret. And then they just like, well, you know, it gets more convoluted as time goes. So bringing it back to like whatever that initial was, I really like. Do you prefer Baba Winkler? I do. Okay. I really like how you were kind of pulling a variety of different other texts outside of like Christian-based texts, or even like colloquialisms or sayings, like and then kind of tying those in, like that's probably where that came from. It's very analytical.
Brother Los?
I mean, listening to Brother Ferb made me think of something, and it's basically a question. Like I was sitting here thinking, and this may be a question that no one can answer, but I wonder if people are drawn and kind of aligned to these different faiths and religions because they need something to measure themselves against. So like even what Brother Fur was saying, like when you find yourself and you're trying to understand yourself and, you know, in your spiritual aspects of your own being, what do you measure that against? You know what I'm saying? So if you're in a Christian faith, then they have tenets that you're measured against. If you're in a Muslim faith, you have tenets that you're measured against. To measure your faith, are you fulfilling your faithful duties and things like that? When you're on your journey, understanding your own spiritual self, what do you measure yourself against? So it was just a question that popped in my head. Like, I don't know the answer. I'm just throwing it out there to even just ponder.
So I think I appreciate that. I think part of the thing is that not all religions have been institutionalized, and some religions came about as a way to preserve them against outside forces. Some would say that even some of the African traditions are more ways of being or culturally ways of being, living, existing, and that some later on have become institutionalized to survive. So I think that again, there's nothing totally bad with any of this. It's about, as I believe Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben and others say, that one's religion or a religion is the edification of one's culture. So I think if we can look at it in that sense, what culture are we edifying? Are we edifying a culture that is serving us? And are you stuck at the myth level, or are you as as I think one of the levels that you left out, Brother Fur, was the whole. I appreciate how you kind of summed that up when you spoke about the allegory, and then you said the philosophical level, the becoming one, living it, embodying it. But then there's also that the looking like I'm doing a thing level too, in between that. You know what I mean? And that's just ritualistically doing things, dressing up a certain way. There's nothing wrong with none of this. I just want to be clear. There's nothing wrong with any of the things. But we have to ask if it's serving us. And what level of development are we at? There's always going to be people at the myth level because this is where they are. But what level do you, whatever level you, because we can go and close our eyes and act like we never heard anything. But the reality is, how is it serving us? And if religion is the edification of one's culture, we must examine what religions and how we're practicing religion. Because the reality is these religions, they have served, but we gotta be real, they have disserved us. And even divided our communities in ways that I don't know what it would take to heal those gaps. I don't care if that's Islam or if that's Christianity or whatever it is. I don't care if you even look in this different sects where they're more extreme, in all these spaces where you cannot even see yourself as a black man. I mean, I'm not saying I'm all caught up on the word black either, but because I'm just not caught up in any of that. But the fact that even Brother Abu Jamal had some gentleman who had an issue, kind of responding to him, who had an issue about, I think, using the word black or African. And because certain people who practice Islam look at you got to put that stuff aside. Your blackness has to be pushed aside. Your Africanness has to be pushed aside because we are brothers in Islam, just like we have brothers in Christianity. And that serves those cultures. It serves those people in those cultures for you to forgo you, because they definitely edifying Arab culture. They're definitely edifying European culture. In America is a Christian society, and this world runs off of the edification of Eurocentric Christianity. It runs, and we all participated in it, whether or not we want to or not. Because we all, reserve and do things. It impacts us. We can't act like we don't get, we be trying with Kwanzaa, but reality, Christmas is going on. Mom and Dad are like, nah, I'm Kwanzaa. But the reality is Christmas is really in the air. The culture is so heavy that everybody loves you around Christmas time, but they hate you all the rest of the year. So that's how culture works. That's why you have to examine what cultural practices you're really taking part in. So if religion is the edification of one's culture, I think we have to re-examine what we're doing.
That's in a lot of systems, even in the martial arts system. When you go to a tournament, you see Muslims, everybody getting along just good because everybody studied that art right there. Mm-hmm. And I said, look at how everybody getting along in here. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Everywhere.
Can I ask? I don't want to challenge. Definitely want to ask you.
I love challenges. Hold on. Let me get that straight. Challenging is what I live for.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I don't want to challenge because of you. I'm saying I don't want to challenge because I'm fighting my own urge to be a people pleaser. So I'm fighting my own.
Okay, do that.
That's not about you.
But, challenge me too, though.
This is. So what myth do you feel that you have wiped away, or more recently, or I don't know.
I'll give you one. The medication is all bad. We'll talk about that myths coming up, because that's a myth that's killing us. That's a myth that's shortening our lives. That's a myth that's a response to the trauma that we experience here in America. And that's another myth that has us practicing with things that ain't going to help heal us. That is a myth that has people that look like you and me dying because they going to an herbalist who in their blood pressure is 202 over 150. I'm not saying herbs ain't no good, because we sell herbs and herbs have their place. But when you walking around at stroke level, you better stop playing games. Or you meet your maker, heaven is there. So look, go. But if you want to live, you better get over this myth called Western medicine. Because living in the West was not a myth. What's not a myth is that Western medicine, that the West will have you needing Western medicine, because it's a very stressful place to live, especially as a Black person. Whether or not you want to identify as Black, whatever it is, whatever color you want to call yourself, I don't care. But whatever it is, what it looks like you and me, the experience, I'm not hooked up on none of that stuff. But what I'm saying is we got to get over these myths, especially around medicine. And that is a myth. I'm talking about psychologically and physiologically.
I think.
I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
No, yeah.
Yeah. Because when you live in the West, you're living in an unnatural type of state. Like if you live in a natural state, those herbs and things could very well be the catalyst to keep you where you are, because you're living in a natural state. You're living off the herb. You're doing all that. But we aren't doing that. We're eating GMO. We have fast food in it. We up all night. We only sleep 1 hour, So we're living in an unnatural. So those things that's created, and like you said, if you're a believer, God created these doctors to create these things to help you out. But Brother Ausar said, Minister Ausar said, when you get to a certain level, believe me, I just got out of the hospital where I'm gonna stand right here and tell you that I didn't think I was gonna be all right. And, and when I got there and they started taking me all these different things and checking for all of this and everything like that, I mean, I'll tell you, I did not feel like I was going to make it. And when they started I was telling them, I was like, when are you guys going to actually work on me? Like you keep doing all this stuff. Like, when is the treatment going to start? And it could have been psychological, but once the treatment actually started, then the negative numbers started to go away. And I was grateful, because I'm like, I can believe, listen, I got berberine, I got all of that stuff to take to mess with your blood sugar. I have all of that stuff. But my blood sugar was 400 and something. You feel what I'm saying? When I got to the hospital. And I'm embarrassed to tell you what my A1C was. I don't even want to discuss that. But I needed help. You feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And a lot of that is tied to our mythical beliefs. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, truly believe what you want to believe. But the reality is, even someone, I mean, like, a person can be, I respect a person like a Bob Marley, who said, look, no, my faith don't do that. He believed in it. If you believe in it and your core values are there, I respect that. But at some point, as a collective body of people, we have all these beliefs that are not serving us, because your culture is supposed to help you essentially survive and thrive. But when your culture isn't doing that, you have to re-examine the whole culture. Because the African culture in Jamaica ain't the same African culture we need here, and the same African culture here ain't the same African culture we need that they have on the continent in different places. In the continent itself, I know we like to lump all these things together, but things are not the same. Some places have more water, more drought, so your culture is to help you deal with the environment. So we got to stop playing these mythical lies. There's beauty in all African culture at the core and essential. It's even beauty in what people call Eurocentric culture. I don't care, because all of it is, if they stole it from you somewhere along the line, it had to be yours. So I'm not going to act like that is not true. There's beauty in Islam. There's beauty in Buddhism. I don't even know how to say it, but there's beauty in all these things. But the reality, and I think we need to look at that. That's another myth. We believe in lots of myths. Dark-skinned people ain't as good looking as light-skinned people. Light-skinned people aren't as good as dark-skinned people. All these different things we got now, twisted minds. We got a lot of myths. I say all of it is lies. Ain't nothing making nobody no better than nobody. Nothing.
So I can think I'm elongating.
Okay,
this,
yeah, you are elongating.
I want to ask this question. I think it's important, right?
It's essential, yes. Right.
All right. In the midst of being, how do you even, because how do you know the myth to identify? Because there's so many things so ingrained. You do it. You might do it every day. Might be doing it right now, and not even knowing that
examine it. As Dr. Gregory says, he says, if you don't examine your beliefs from time to time, your beliefs have you, you don't have them. And that is the thing that we talk about when we started off. It says how our lives are questions, how we often evade deeper inquiries of life through success, business, of fear and solitude. We are afraid to ask questions. If any creator or creation gave you a mind, use it. But I understand the myths told you not to. Blessings. All right. Mom, you want to lead us in that? This mic's been dropping all day. Them people online like, what is this? Ashe family. I did want to say this though. African proverb, it says, wisdom is like a baobab, I can't even say the word, baobab tree. No one individual can embrace it. Can someone say that for me again? My tongue is a little messed up today. Wisdom is like a baobab tree. No one individual can embrace it. No one individual, no one culture, no one belief, no one institution has it all.
The picture of that is the tree is about, some of them as big as round as this right here. So nobody can embrace it. I thought it was a little tree.
All right, family, let's do our Harambe's. We're going to put our hands up. We're going to spread our fingers. We're going to spread our fingers. We're going to put them up. We're going to spread our digits here. And then we're going to pull down 7 times. And on the last time, we can put our black fists up. So we're going to go 7. And we're going to go on 3. 1, 2, 3. Harambe, 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 Harambe.
Take a ride ship at the side. All your dreams will come true right away. And we will live together until the 12th of never. Our voices will ring forever as every thought is a dream, smashing by in a stream, bringing light to the kingdom of doing. Take a ride in the sky, on the ship at the side. All your dreams will come true miles away. Our voices will bring together until the 12th of never. We all will live long forever as one. Come to sing victory in the land of fantasy, loving like a new decree, bring your mind to everlasting liberty. As one, come to sing victory.